Welcome to Unschooled History. I'm Leanne,
And I'm Mike.
and today, with Easter coming up, we are talking about the history of Easter eggs.
Excellent.
So, even though this is the history of Easter eggs, we really wanted to find out just how long mankind has been decorating eggs. It turns out we have been decorating eggs for a very long time, for at least 60,000 years, as evidenced by this egg found in South Africa. It is an ostrich egg that was decorated and used as a drinking vessel. How cool is that? And Easter eggs definitely weren't the first eggs decorated specifically for a spring holiday. In Iran, they celebrate the spring equinox. They call it Nowruz. There are a lot of symbolic items on the Nowruz table, all of which come from Zoroastrianism. And one of these elements is beautifully decorated eggs. In fact, it has been suggested that the Nowruz egg is the inspiration for how beautifully we decorate Easter eggs today. Look at these. These are absolutely gorgeous. Today, Easter eggs come in multiple forms. They could be very elaborate, they could be hand painted or carved, or they could be something simple as hard-boiled eggs dipped into a mixture of warm water, vinegar, and food coloring. But what is the actual history? How did eggs come to be associated with a holy day celebrating the rising of the Christian Messiah from the tomb? You will find memes online as well as claims by Wiccans and neo-pagans that the modern word Easter comes from an ancient goddess named Ostara or another ancient goddess named Ishtar. Ostara was, according to a church father named Bede, who was writing in the 9th century, a Germanic or Anglo-Saxon goddess of the dawn, which makes sense for her name, which comes from the German Ost for east. Ishtar, of course, was a Sumerian goddess. Apparently, both are somehow associated with hares and spring. And it makes sense for Ishtar because she is a sex goddess as well as a goddess of war. And Astara, like I said, was a goddess of the dawn and of the east. So somehow they have both become associated in modern terms with Easter and with Easter eggs. This is absolutely wrong. First, Ostara might not even have existed. There are no surviving records or anything mentioning her name before the 9th century. And if she did exist, she was associated with the dawn, not with the spring. Second, the idea that Ishtar had anything to do with Easter is completely made up. It was made up in the 19th century by a Protestant minister who created a tract that you can look up and read online called The Two Babylons, and it was created entirely to attack Roman Catholics. That is the only thing behind that, is attacking Roman Catholicism from a Protestant standpoint. So he made up this very wrong etymology. In fact, neither goddess has any association whatsoever with eggs as any of their symbols. Now, let's talk some legend that actually is associated with Easter, and it's all to do with Mary Magdalene. You'll probably notice that in this icon, she is holding an egg in her right hand, and it is red. There are two legends that do not conflict with each other. One may be true, the other may be true, both might be true. We don't know. We do know that they both come from Eastern Christianity. One of the legends is that Mary Magdalene was bringing a basket of cooked eggs to share with the other women whom she was meeting at the tomb. And when she met the risen Christ, all of her eggs miraculously turned red. The other legend is that she went to the Emperor of Rome, which would have taken a lot of gall for her to do because she was a woman, she was a Jewish woman at that, and that was just really, really brave for her to, as a Jewish woman, go in and tell the emperor to his face, Christ is risen. The emperor, of course, scoffed at her and said, your Messiah is no more risen than that egg on the table over there is red. Miracle of miracles, the egg turned red. That is why, to this day, Eastern Catholics actually have a preference for dyeing their Easter eggs red. These eggs are from the late Victorian era and are the oldest known surviving Easter eggs for public consumption. The one on the left is made of chocolate and it's from 1899, and the one on the right, which is actually from the Edwardian era, is a hand-painted egg from 1912. So why do I say the oldest surviving for public consumption? Well, for that answer, I am going to turn it over to Michael because he is the Russophile.
These are Imperial Fabergé eggs, and they look amazing. Each and every one of these is a series of more than 50 Easter eggs ordered by Russian Tsars Alexander III and Nicholas II for Tsarinas Maria and Alexandra. The first of these eggs is the 1885 hen egg, ordered by Tsar Alexander III as an Easter gift for his wife Tsarina Maria. The hen originally had a small crown that is now missing, and it sat on inside the golden ball that represented the yolk, then in turn sat inside the egg, which was made of gold and covered in white enamel. Also of interest is the 1894 Renaissance egg, pictured on the left. After the first two, the jewelers at Fabergé had free range in designing the imperial Easter eggs, so long as each was unique and each had a surprise. The surprise is missing from the Renaissance egg, but it is incredibly theorized that the resurrection egg on the right might be the surprise. The reason for that theory is threefold. First, pearls were a part of the inventory list for the Renaissance egg, but they were not on the egg itself, but they are on the resurrection egg. Second, the resurrection egg has no serial number like all other imperial eggs. Third, the resurrection egg, which has no surprise, fits perfectly in a Renaissance egg. Also of interest is that the resurrection egg is the only one of the imperial eggs to directly reference the Easter story in its design.
Here's the cool thing. Easter egg has become a term meaning a surprise in media. Though the idea of having a surprise in a game predates the Atari game Adventure, it was this particular game for which the term was coined. What happened was that Atari was not attributing its programmers. And one particular programmer, Warren Robinette, really disagreed with this policy. So, when he was programming the game Adventure, which was the last one he programmed for Atari before he left the company, he programmed in a little glitch, if you will. And it is called the gray dot. And what would happen is when you moved your avatar over the gray dot, they would then enter this room where you would see this message created by Warren Robinette. and the gray dot was now purple. And of course, one does not simply mention this type of Easter egg without mentioning Google, which has become famous for them. Google Maps used to have this little Easter egg for walking directions from the Shire to Mordor. And it would come up with walking directions are in beta, use caution. One does not simply walk into Mordor. If you search Google 1998 on your computer, it will bring up a image of what Google looked like in 1998. There are so many cool things. You can type in to Google, do a barrel roll, and the website will do a barrel roll. You can do a search for Wizard of Oz, and the shoes will be on the right hand side, and if you click on the shoes, you will hear Dorothy say there's no place like home. They will be animated, they will click together 3 times, and everything will turn black and white. And then when you click on the tornado, which has replaced the ruby slippers, everything will go back to color as a tornado sound plays. There are so many of them that I cannot list them all. So you are really just going to have to look them up on Google, maybe discover them for yourself, or if you want to, you can look them up on Wikipedia. They have a list of all of them. Whether you're into homemade dyes, modern fancy kits, or something even more elaborate, such as the dye resist method known as Syanka, or dyeing eggs with scraps of silk, we hope that you enjoyed this look at the history of Easter eggs and egg decoration.